and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, I'm talking about on chasing after parents' approval. On chasing after parents' approval. This particular message is for those of you all who you are simply burnt out with trying to appease a parent or step-parent, foster parent, spiritual parent, anybody's parent. Could be your spouse's parent. When you have reached a place in your life where you are satisfied with your accomplishments, you have done well, you can wake up feeling confident each day, knowing that you are where you are, doing what you're supposed to be doing, and taking care of your responsibilities. It's a good feeling, isn't it? But when you are that one that is not happy with your life decisions, when you have people around you who say, "I told you so," when you are struggling with your own personal challenges, it becomes harder to live each day. You don't seem to be the nicest person, right? If anything, you find yourself not liking yourself or not liking others, or it's a combination of both. Because simply put, you're not happy. For some people, this has been going on for decades because they've got some negative parents whose influence was in defense of them for good reason. But unfortunately, the influence was not functional. The parents had good reason for being strict, being hard, being difficult. You better straighten up or else. But it became dysfunctional when no matter what I do, I can't win the approval of my parents, my step-parents, my foster parents, my spouse's parent. I can't win, right? Some of you all, you started off with, I'm going to just do everything she tells me or everything he tells me, and hopefully I will win their approval. But it didn't work, did it? Instead, they gave you more things. Some said thank you. Others didn't even say thank you. Just give me, and give me some more. Give me your time. Give me your money. Give me your space. When does this stop? Says some son or daughter. When? You are after approval by your very nature, by your being, by your makeup. You are after a parent's approval. Even if you didn't grow up with that parent. You heard through the grapevine so-and-so was your parent. And once you got some type of connection to that person, you wanted their approval. But it never came. This is what I mean by breaking the toxic emotional ties and say goodbye to dad. You're chasing after something or someone, and you're not able to get what is going to give you peace or bridge the gap or make you feel better about yourself or make you get out there and fight the good fight. I want something from you. I don't quite know what it is. I'm going to chase after it until I can find it. And hopefully I'll be okay. And I can go out here and have the quality relationship and have the, great business and just do all of these things. And can I tell you that the Lord, he exposed me a long time ago on this. And I can't teach or preach a message like this without talking about family. So if you're offended, you can click off right now. But he talked to me about this a long time ago and said that it's not their approval you need to be concerned about, daughter. It's my approval. It's what I'm doing in you, through you, what I'm going to do with you in the future. You cannot be that one that holds back praise. You can't be that one that's lacking in empathy toward others. You can't be that one that is the hard, strict, demanding teacher like your predecessors. You can't be that one. And so, of course, when you are different, when you're moving in a different direction, when it doesn't look familiar, when your family don't even know who you are, there is the disapproval. But the Lord said they disapproved of you long before you got here. What? How can that be? Because the plan was not to bring about children in the way that they wanted. The plan wasn't to bring about children in the timing that they wanted. Yeah, it's a talk that you have when you're in a relationship, but when you're not ready, or when somebody is influencing you or persuading you, you end up doing some things that you're not really ready for. So there's a disapproval of what I did. Come on. There's a rejection of what I did. See, some of us, we had a scarlet letter a long time ago, and some of you relatives, friends, what have you, you didn't know that. Only God would know something like that. That's not the type of conversation that you sit down and you have with this child or children that you brought into this world. You know, really, I wasn't ready for you, even though some have boldly said that. You know, really, I just didn't want any children because I knew there were some things that was wrong with me. And now that you're in the world, I see what you're about. Didn't approve of themselves, didn't approve of you. So what happens when you recognize that somebody does not approve of you? You want to work harder. And some of them, it's a manipulative game. That's the whole reason why they withheld the praise. That's why they didn't, put you on some kind of pedestal and made you daddy's little girl or made you mama's boy or whatever. But once again, there's functional and then there's dysfunctional. And some folks were dysfunctional with how they were treating their children. No, I'm not going to, dote over you. No, I'm not going to talk about all of the wonderful things you did. No, I'm not going to say too much of anything. I just want you to do well. Some, they doted to make themselves look great in front of other people by talking about your accomplishments. Okay. Talking about what you're doing that they didn't do. There are those parents more specifically, who had a plan for your life. We talk about God having a plan for your life. When their plan and God's plan don't align, there's going to be problems. There's going to be a whole lot of problems. And that's also why some folks didn't do so well spiritually growing up. Because mama's plan didn't align with God's plan. Daddy's thoughts did not align with God's thoughts. Neither one of them was seeking the one true God on how to parent. None of them were reading books and implementing any type of tactics from books. Instead, what did my mama do? What did my daddy do? What did the people in the community do? And all of that dysfunction was circulating in the neighborhood and elsewhere. The child, whether the child is young or whether the son or daughter is an adult, is after a parent's approval. And those that don't have a faith, those that don't have a savior, they're going to be looking for approval from parents and everybody else because something is lacking. But when God comes into our lives, he says that you don't need to chase after that parent's approval. Somebody new you start dating and the mother seems like she's a bit off, right? Standoffish, doesn't want to really be bothered with you. Natural choice would be, rather than pulling away, you would go, I'm going to prove to this person that I'm a nice person and that I care about people. And some folks, you've been doing this for years. Proving yourself through the money you give, proving yourself through the service, proving yourself by bringing children into the world and dropping them off with that person, proving that you are not what they say you are. And what did that do? Nothing. Because for the toxic individual, they're going to keep finding fault with you because you are everything that they are not. Come on, let me encourage somebody. You are everything that they are not. Just as God called you, just as God chose you, God did the same thing with all these other people. He did. And some folks answered the call and others ignored some more. God, you're allowed to be in my life up to a certain point. After that, no. They disapprove of God. And so what do you think God's going to do? God's going to walk away from that person and move on and give his gifts to somebody else who does approve of him. And the same type of relationship or lack thereof that they have with the Lord is how they are with human beings. And we see it. So you're disrespectful and ornery and you don't approve of this thing or that thing that I'm doing. And you're doing the same thing with the one true God. And you don't approve of your children doing this thing and that thing, but yet you do the same things and you expect God to have some type of favor or blessing on you. But meanwhile, come on, you aren't going to dispense that type of blessing and grace and favor or what have you on your children. Rejection is real. Disapproval is real. This is the sort of thing that we have gone through our share of counseling, spiritually, mentally, physically, even because some folks have been unfortunately abused by parents. And through all of that, there is one objective. And that objective is to raise the self-esteem of someone who has been rejected. Someone who all they experienced throughout their life was disapproval. On an intimate level with a partner, you experience disapproval if you're with the wrong one when they cheat on you. Evidently, you didn't approve of me. No. What had happened was, no, you didn't approve of me. You didn't want me. You wanted what you could get from me, but you didn't truly love, appreciate, respect me, you see. And somehow that ties into how the relationship was with the father or with the mother. The father got away with a lot of things with the mother. The mother got away with a lot of things with the father. There was this forced approval on things that maybe the mother really didn't want to do. There was this forced approval that was put upon the father on things that he really didn't want to do. And when you have a child that grows up in an atmosphere where they look at the father and they look at the mother and there's this disapproval, but yet nobody really verbalizes it and they go along with the programming, now you have been taught power and control. So then you go into your relationships, and when you don't approve of certain things, you don't verbalize that. Instead, you just go along with the programming until one day you explode on your partner and say, after all I did for you, and you are doing this and doing that, and you know what? I never really liked that, or I disapproved of that, you see. So all of these things that are taking place with some of you all when it comes to the disapproval that the parent has towards you, whoever that parent might be, I'm telling you that the one true God, he exposes these folks so that you don't feel alone. He exposes these people so that you'll stop spending your money. He exposes these people so that you won't be getting on planes, trains, and trolleys trying to go see about them. He exposes these people because he wants you to see that they are in error and that their ways and function and practices and whatever else they got going on, probably even some false religion, is wrong. There are those religions that don't approve of you, right? Just as there are those relatives and friends who don't approve of you. People are part of those religions. You know, you read about this sort of thing and you find out that as long as people follow protocol, right? These legalistic religions follow protocol. We approve of you. But when you go off and you do your own thing, they disapprove. And that's a whole nother topic. But I'm giving you examples of how if you got a parent that's tied to a religion and that religion is legalistic and they don't believe in come one, come all, then you can even be caught up in a spiritual fight of disapproval with these so-called people who claim to be believers and they love and respect and treat you kindly until you do something they disapprove of. Okay, so just imagine you got a double whammy with a parent who's also caught up in a religious doctrine that's filled with a lot of legalism. So as I spent my time paying attention to some folks over the years who were disapproved of in one way or another and going through my own share of experiences, I found that as long as you fight back against, push back against some of those things that people are saying, and you know that truth is truth, you're not hurting people but helping people. When you know that what you have gone through with the parent and you continue to go through with a parent is nothing more than dysfunctional, going to the one true God, establishing your own network, reaching out to the people who do approve of you is going to help you just be a better person overall. But as long as we're staying around people who disapprove of us, who find fault with us, who nitpick, who back in the day, I used to talk about the dozens and the rips and these negative things that people say about the way you look and the way you talk and all that. As long as you're around those sorts of people, you are not going to be able to get up out of the box that they set up for you, which has a big label on it called "We disapprove." Okay, we disapprove. We disapprove of the person that you date. We disapprove of the way you wear your hair. We disapprove of the way you're built. We disapprove of the car you drive. We disapprove of the business you're a part of. We disapprove of the ministry. We disapprove of the way you talk. You know, they're always, we disapprove. And all of this that they keep throwing at you does nothing more than hinder you on this spiritual walk that you're on with your Creator. You're not able to live your best life because you always got a voice in your head or voices that say, we disapprove. I'm telling you that as I've gotten older, if I would have continued with all of what people were saying they did not like, didn't want me to do, they disapproved of this and that, there would be no ministry. There would have never been any books. I would have never went to college. I would have never considered being in any type of relationship. There would have never been any children that were born. Okay. Because there are those that want to put you in such a tight box to the point where you can't breathe. And let me tell you, people who do that sort of thing, the very folks that you're putting in that box, they're going to turn on you sooner or later. And that's what you don't want. That's why you want to keep your hand on them. And that's why some of you all are just so overbearing and controlling, because you know, once they come out that box and they realize they got freedom in Christ and that they can be approved by people out here that truly do love, like them, get to know them and find out that they're so talented and they want to give them. As soon as people start to catch wind that somebody like that exists that you have in a box, they're going to gravitate to that group, to that association, you know, to whoever approves of them. And some of you all, I understand you keeping some folks in a box because they got a repeated pattern of being around the wrong people doing the wrong things. But when you know that you have a son or a daughter or someone around you that they have been doing great things, and that maybe you don't approve of those things, and they don't need to know that you don't approve of them, parents, but they're still making strides. They're still making accomplishments. You're supposed to celebrate that. But God is not going to allow a born again, sanctified, Holy Spirit filled person to stay around individuals who all they want to do is vent about what they don't approve of. Some folks will go way back to a son or daughter's childhood and talk about everything they disapproved of. Some have not gotten over some things and will bring back the issues that were supposed to be resolved and say, you know, that guy, I didn't like him. I didn't approve of him. Excuse me, but I'm in a new relationship. I'm married and I don't appreciate you disrespecting me by talking about these or disrespecting my partner by bringing up some old folks. Oh, no, you're disrespecting me, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not disrespecting you. I'm standing my ground. This is a new season and this is a new era, a new relationship. You need to get caught up, you see. Because when they don't know anything else that you're really doing, or they only get their information through third-party sources who will twist things, leave things out, or forget things, all they're going to do is come at you with what they assume. All they're going to do is come at you with an attack of some sort. Some folks are very kind, very respectful about how they share their disapproval. And for some of you all who are still going through healing, who are still drawing near to the Lord, you don't need to be listening to people who all they're going to do is take you back to a time where they disapproved of you. And for some of them, they still disapprove of you, but they do it with a smile on their face. That doesn't make them a nice person. That makes them a manipulative person. Just because a person, acts real polite and sweet does not mean that what is coming out of their mouth is acceptable. Okay. I'm trying to raise some folks up spiritually, mentally, and physically by just saying no to those who disapprove of you. So since they disapprove of everything that you're doing, or maybe some of what you're doing, now you can turn the tables around and say, well, I disapprove of you continuing to bring these things to my attention when there's no reason to do that. I'm in a different place now. I've moved on with my life. Okay. I'm protecting my children. I don't want my children caught up in other people's dysfunction. I know some folks are not walking the way they're supposed to be walking with the one true God. God is exposing folks every single day, using all sorts of people, places, and things to remind them that it's not about an attack on a person's character. It's about getting you to where you need to be with your Creator. So the son and the daughter, mother, father type of relationship goes out the window when God is dealing with the person. Well, what about son, daughter, mother, father? You supposed to do this, that, and the other. No, when God is truly dealing with someone, your relationships don't feel like they once did, because somebody is being empowered. Somebody is living their life through Christ. So if somebody's idea of what a mother or father is supposed to act like, or what a son or daughter is supposed to do for a mother or father, if that is dysfunctional in any way, shape, or form, the Lord will sever that tie. Okay? He will sever that tie. And I'm telling you right now, so many people are still connected to some toxic folks. They do not want to let these people go because they still have money, children, property between them. And so they're just taking so much from a person who doesn't approve of them. And they're constantly having to put their hand on their mouth, so to speak, to keep from saying something because, well, he got my kids, or she's got some money and this one has some property. So I'm just going to keep swallowing my pride. I'm just going to keep, my opinion to myself. As much as this hurts, though, I know he doesn't approve of my husband, or I know that she doesn't approve of my wife, but I just got to keep plugging away. Well, I'm telling you right now, you don't have to keep doing anything. If anything, you should work towards being independent rather dependent. You need to establish boundaries and let these folks know that you're not going to continue to bring your children, your wife, your husband around if they're going to continue to insult you in some kind of way. Keep bringing up the past, talk about how they don't approve of your life decisions and all of that. Once again, the Lord will create that distance because people just don't learn. And as they told me years ago, they said, an old dog, you can't teach new tricks. And I'm saying, but God can. And if that person will humble his or herself, God will turn the disapproval into approval. Rather than being this way when it comes to disapproving of, just things that really, it's not even something to disapprove on. People have their own lives. One should be focused on winning God's approval. And I'll end this message on that note. Focus on winning God's approval. I thank you as always for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen. You've been listening to YouTube, NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. Blessings to you.